So that is one of my biggest goals of 2026. My other goal of 2026, I don't know why I'm smiling when I say this. I don't know why I feel weird about saying it. Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself, Lou. Happy New Year! Welcome to 2026. Welcome back to my office. It has snowed quite bad in the Midlands where I'm from, and my neighbour is scraping his driveway. And so if you hear the scraping, that is what it is. He's actually building a snowman. I don't know whether I said this here or did I say it on my Patreon, that he lost his wife just before Christmas, and they were such a cute elderly couple. He's scraping his driveway, he's clearing all the snow, but he's doing it really methodically, which is like scratching a really good itch on my methodical brain. I love how he's going around in squares, and he's building a snowman, so I can actually see it from my window. But yes, it's snowed so much that people are actually out making snowmans. I know all the schools around my area have shut because my nieces are off school, because I've had a photograph from my brother-in-law. He's got an office at the end of his garden, and he took a photo of all the kids this morning saying that he's been invaded and he's trying to like be on meetings, and my mum, my dad, my brother, my sister, like they're all throwing snow at his office window. That is probably the downside of being able to work from home. You don't actually get like a snow day as such. My best friend has texted me saying that he's having a snow day because he works in a school. So yeah, it's all very super festive for this time of year. But I think I might have jinxed it. I went out for a run just before Christmas and I put on my Strava, this is not December weather. So I think we get December weather in January, don't we? So yeah, I love how the snow looks. And I love the fact that the kids get to play out in it, and I love all of that. I just absolutely hate the Brits in the snow. I absolutely hate it. It's one of the things that I just think, why? People just lose brain cells in the snow. If you drive a rear wheel drive car, why are you leaving the house? As a sort of council, we don't grit the roads. There's been no grit put on the roads whatsoever because it started off as sleet. And I just think that everybody saw the weather forecast and was like, oh, it's just sleet, like, you know, it was not going to settle. So there's no grit on the roads. And then I saw on like our Spotted Town page that like people were getting stranded at the bottom of the hills, and like people were getting to the bottom of the hills and sliding down them and crashing, and there was lorries being stranded. Like, what's going on? I just don't understand. And I know people need to leave the house to work. I get that. But if you're driving a rear wheel drive car, why are you leaving the house? I don't understand. Maybe that's me just being unsympathetic because I drive a 4x4 and I am dying to take my car out and put it in snow mode. I've never put it in snow mode. And to be fair, the dealer that sold it to me said, don't ever put it in snow mode unless you think it's absolutely 100% necessary. I'm doing it because we've got like this much snow. So I feel like it is necessary. And I think I can see the main road from here, like through the two houses basically, and there is snow on the roads, but my close, no one's driven in it. So I want to like be able to plow through the snow in my 4x4, live up to my 4x4 expectations from other people. You get called a 4x4 whatever all the time for how you drive, but actually this is my time to shine. This is where having a 4x4 on my drive that I very rarely drive comes into action. This is literally my blue beast's time to shine. So yeah, getting back into it on a very, very snowy Friday. I'm recording this on Friday because This week has been crazy. It's been Looney Tunes. I have been doing some work for a company just to tie me over just financially for a bit. So I have been basically getting back into the swing of like having a routine with that, doing my social media as well, and just trying to find like a more balanced routine. I promised myself that I would exercise throughout the whole of Christmas. That didn't happen. I got my steps in. I went out for walks where I could go out for walks, but my exercise just trailed off. I was having too much of a good time. I was pretty much drinking from the 24th all the way through to like the 31st. There was so much going on, so many plans. There was one gigantic, horrific hangover, which I genuinely haven't had a Prosecco hangover like that for ages. And here's me declaring online that I'm going to stop drinking Prosecco. All I drank was Prosecco over Christmas and Cremant. And I got the worst hangover. I could barely lift my head off the pillow. I actually dialed my dad in. I was like, please, can you bring around some paracetamol and ibuprofen and some apple juice because I'm suffering. That was, I can't think what Friday that was. Oh, that was after Boxing Day. Yeah, that was the Saturday. It's so bad. So I had a lovely, lovely Christmas. I had a very tame New Year. Now, I know that I sat here and I was like, I think I'm going to spend New Year's Eve by myself. I think I feel drawn to feel like staying in, seeing the new year and by myself. I feel like it would be really symbolic for like what I want to achieve in the next year, just seeing the new year out on my own. I then changed my mind and was like, my friends are all going out, so there's a bigger group than I thought, so I'm probably going to go out. I really, really wish that I had like gone with my initial instinct of like following how I felt and stayed in on New Year's Eve, because my New Year's Eve was great, but I booked an Uber at 4 minutes past 12. I was like, I just want to go home. I had no need to be out. I didn't feel like I needed to be out. I didn't want to be out anymore. So I booked an Uber, saw the new year with my best friends, and then I skedaddled at 4 minutes past 12. I booked an Uber. My friend was outside, like, why are you going home? Like, come with us. Like, we're going back to so and so's house. And I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I need to go into this year like really, really, really like fresh and open. And I just don't want to spend my New Year's Day hungover. And so off I popped. And I was so grateful that I did that. But I definitely think that I should have probably listened to myself, listened to my gut on that. But I guess that like people don't want you to be by them, like by yourself on New Year's Eve. And people go, oh, it's just another day. And I just don't agree with that. I just think it's like not another day. It's like a day that should be celebrated. I love new beginnings. I love fresh starts. But I could have stayed in and journaled and like had my own little party. I'm so used to doing stuff by myself that wouldn't have felt weird to me at all. It's kind of like Christmas Eve, like being on my own on Christmas Eve. It doesn't feel weird to me anymore. It just feels like, oh, that's what I want to do. I don't have to say because of X, Y, and Z. It's like I'm staying on New Year's Eve by myself because I want to. And I think I'm past the, oh God, like we need to look after Lou, like she's by herself and blah, blah, blah. I'm past that now. People have started kind of going like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like if you just want to stay in by yourself, like that's cool. So yeah, this year is going to be different and I'll get onto that in a second. I'm doing dry January, so shout out to everyone doing dry January, especially when you are a 365 party girl like me. Giving up alcohol in January has always set me on a really good positive stance for the new year. I have had 4 offers already for this weekend to go out, and I have said no because I am starting different things and different habits this year. They're obviously going to be completely different to the habits that I wanted to start last year because I was like dead set on running a marathon last year. I was into my marathon training block last year. That isn't the case this year. I have toyed around with potentially running a marathon this year in the spring. And I have decided that I'm not going to. I was going to run Brighton, and I've decided that for me in the first quarter of this year, I've decided that that's not a thing for me this year. I again said last year when I was like going to run the London Marathon, I said, I'm not going to run a marathon in 2026. For some reason, that came out of my mouth and I don't know why. And I said to my dad, I was like, well, I didn't run a marathon last year, so I'm obviously going to run a marathon this year. I've changed my mind on that. I've gone back to why I said I'm not going to run a marathon in 2026. There was a huge reason behind that. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you, but there was a reason why I said it. So I'm going to trust myself on this one. And I'm not going to run a marathon this year. And instead, I am going to run multiple half marathons. I'm going to sign up for every single half marathon that I can find. Within the local area, I want to do the London landmarks. Like, I want to do the big half marathon runs. So I'm going to sign up for all the half marathons that I can get to. I'm going to drag my brother-in-law along the way. I'm going to update my medal wall. Yeah, we've shown my medal wall on here. They're all behind the door. They're all there. Look at them in all their glory. I should probably record my podcast with them in the background, shouldn't I? Does that look cool? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll consider it. I'm unsure. But I'm going to update my medals and just get some really good, nice half marathons like under my belt. I can drag a couple more of my friends around them as well, because a couple of my friends are like big on running, like gonna get to a half marathon. Marathon's obviously like big, but I'm going to sign up for 2027 marathons and just focus on what my big goals are for 2026. Again, come on to that in a second. So yes, I'm doing dry January, but I am forming different habits this year. I am still going to follow a training plan. So I'm still going to follow my marathon training plan up to 15 miles. So I'm going to start training now, basically, as where I can. If I miss a week, I'm not going to be too hard on myself. But I am going to follow my marathon training plan. I'm going to start it once the snow has cleared, because that's another thing. It like impacts so much. Like, marathon training is, you have to be so dedicated, and stuff like this is just like, it will just throw a spanner in your works. Like, your mileage goes up throughout the end of the week. So like, if I was following my marathon training plan now, I would have to have done 5 miles this evening and then probably 8 miles at the weekend, or 10 half. I don't know how quickly it goes up, but the snow would throw a big fat spanner in the works. You have to be able to adapt, and it's just frustrating for somebody like me who doesn't really like adapting. It's all like that added pressure, and when you're doing other things, that kind of takes a back seat. And I feel like, having gone through my like 2025 goals, I've realized just how much impact marathon training has on everything else. And I think when you're trying to build something and when you're trying to focus on other things, I think that you have to be sensible in knowing that marathon training will engulf your life for 16 weeks. I become this running, hungry, focused, like hungry as in like hungry, focused person on one goal, and that's getting around 26 miles. Like, that's getting your body around those 26 miles. And sometimes I think I'm having to now realize that, yes, I've run 3 marathons consecutively, one after another, but like, I wanted to run a marathon a year. That's probably not going to be doable when I'm starting to realize that when I'm setting these absolutely crazy, scary, terrifying goals in my personal life, that something's going to have to probably take a hit like that. And I say take a hit, it's not that I need to run a marathon a year. I got the marathon bug, and I don't think that will ever go away. I think I will 100% continue to run marathons. If I achieve what I want to achieve, like in July, from like the first 6 months of the year, what's to say that I can't look at like running a winter marathon? There's a broad marathons that I want to do. And I think that it doesn't define you as a runner just because I'm not running a marathon this year. However, like I said, there are some amazing half marathons, and I want to get like my sisters around a 5K route and like get them a couple of medals and see what my friends are on with, and see if I can like kind of motivate them to want to run maybe a half marathon or like a 10K. So from like a training perspective, I am going to follow my gut. There was a reason, like I said, that I said that I wasn't going to run a marathon in 2026, and I feel pulled towards that. And so I'm going to honour that and not run a marathon this year. So watch this space. I'm going to be at every single half marathon that you can think of. So if you do want to run a half marathon or you're signing up for a half marathon and you think, I wonder if Lou's going to go to that one, check in with me, ask me, because it might be one that I've never heard of. And I might think, that sounds like a good one. One with good views, one that isn't too like hilly, one that I'm gonna like really enjoy. Like I said, I want to do like the landmarks, and I don't know if that's a ballot one, so we'll see. Anyway, that is my running goal. It is to do as many as half marathons as I could possibly cram into the year. But dry January is still going to be a thing. And like I said, I'm going to try and build on habits that I want to take into this year. So I've reflected on the last probably 5 months of the year, which were incredibly busy for me, like super, super busy for me. Lots of socializing. And I've looked at how that has impacted the content that I put out on the internet. And I'm not saying it's impacted it hugely. I just know that I could be more productive with my weekends. And when I say like online, like, are you asking yourself hard questions and are you answering them honestly? This is what I mean. Are you asking yourself a question like, could I be more productive at the weekends? And are you answering it honestly? So I'm usually saying I could, but life's for living and I want to be able to be out and socializing and doing all the things with my friends. That is not an honest answer. My honest answer is you know that you didn't need that last 3 glasses of wine that has caused you to have a hangover, which means that you haven't got up till 12, which means you probably could have put more content out on the internet. So I have sat down and had a real big fat chat with myself. And I think that where I am social and where I drink, I am unapologetically a party girl and I will always be a party girl. And if you are going to invite me somewhere, I'm always going to say yes. And I'm always going to have a glass of wine in my hand. But I think there is a lot to say about being self-aware in these moments and actually relaying them back to what you want to achieve in the year. Last year was a huge growth year for me for TikTok and a huge growth for me for Instagram. And I had spent all year working up to me being able to double my following on Instagram. And I worked all year. I think my video that blew up went viral in August. So that's 8 months of the year that I spent creating content, not seeing my followers go up loads to then doubling my following. Like, it was just insane. And people say you just need that one video to go viral, and what happens around that video doesn't really matter. I disagree. There's a reason why the algorithm picked that video up. I'd got a trending audio, but the trending audio already had 1 million hits on it. They tell you to go for things that are under 10,000 hits. I didn't do any of that. I had worked so hard all year, posting online, posting. And the algorithm kind of just saw that video and went, no, she's out. She's booming. Showed my video to thousands of people. I gained I think it was 5,500 followers in a month, which is wild considering I would gain say a couple of hundred. 5,500 followers in 1 month is crazy. That's 1,000 a week. And they are numbers that I would never be it's only 1,000 a week. I would never say that, because I went from having an account of 24 people and getting 30 views on a reel to every single reel that I post now goes over 10,000 views, which to me is something that I put on my goals for 2025. And we'll go through them in a second. I think that when it comes to my 2 lives, they do go hand in hand with the content that I wanted to put out there last year. This year, that's just not a thing. I'm going to have to record real-time live talking content because that's the way that Instagram and TikTok are going. And so I need to be coherent. I need to be up, I need to be fresh, I need to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And the reason why I have waited until Friday to record Friday's episode is because I've been battling this flu that has been going around. My eyes have been puffy, my nose has been nasal. I've not been a very pretty picture to look at. So I thought, I'm not turning up online on the first bloody podcast back having looked like I have not slept for months. So I think it was kind of like everything just stopping in the downtime, and just everything. I've been at 90 miles an hour throughout the whole of Christmas. I then stopped and it all just came on top of me, and my sinuses took the full effect 100%. So, but I think when I think I want to make a huge shift and change in my content, I'm still going to have the quote content. I'm still going to do my journey throughout my breakup content, but I also want to step into a new era of me, a new healing era, a lot of like lessons learned era. I want to become a voice on the online space of healing and breakups as being somebody that you can trust, because I have been at it for 3 years. I want to become an expert in the breakup field, and I've been doing training seminars and all sorts in the background to try and learn as much as I can to eventually offer out packages to help people. And again, I'll go into that in a second. And so one of the habits that I'm building this year is to have a 2-drink maximum in my local area. And the reason why I've said that is because I usually leave my town when I am going out for people's birthdays, for Christmas, for, special trips away. If I leave the town, that 2-drink minimum is minimum. 2-drink minimum. I wish. 2-drink maximum is going to not be a thing. I'm going to Liverpool for my best friend's birthday in February. I'm going to Dublin in March. I'm going to Manchester in May. Like, I am not going to stick to that. I want to go out and I want to have a good time. Around here, it's very, very, very easy for me to get carried away. Just one more. I can walk home. A taxi's £5. Like, just one more. I'll just have one more. It'll be all right. I'll just drink water when I get home. No. So I might not be training for a marathon. However, I am I'm building the same habits as I would have done had I been training for a marathon, just by limiting my alcohol ever so slightly, just so I can still go out and have a good time. I'm not going fully sober, because we all know, if you've listened to my 75 Hard podcast, I will never do sober ever again until I am pregnant. But the 2-drink thing is going to be something that I am going to stick to just while I enter this next quarter. The next 4 months, I have got some huge goals to try and obtain. I'm going to share a majority of my goals with you. I'm not going to share all of them, because some of them are like personal to me and personal to like my therapy sessions and just certain things like that I just don't think I need to share with you. But some of my goals I do think are worthwhile sharing with you, because it might give you an idea of like the kind of goals that you want to set and how you set your goals as well, because I set different types of goals. I obviously also have a vision board, which I haven't written down my goals in my journal, and I haven't updated my vision board because I like to do it properly. I like to have music on. I like to have my crystals with me. I like to make it a big thing, and I like to make it a big deal. And there is a reason why I've left it to this weekend, because I just knew that it was going to be chaos for the first week of the year. It has to be calm and it has to feel right with me. Like I said, I'm sitting into actually listening to myself this year. I'm going to do it properly, but I'm going to share a few of my goals. I'm going to share a few of my 2025 goals. I'm going to share a few of my goals with you now, and a few things. And I'm also going to share with you one big thing that I have implemented since the 2nd of January, and something that I think that you should very, very, very much do yourselves. I'm also then going to share you the updates with Move With Lou, what's coming with the podcast, what's new with coming up for air, what's new with just basically my social media platform. So I'm going to start off with My 2025 goals. So my 2025 goals, I have got some that I'm carrying over for Defo. One of my social media goals was to get 50,000 followers on Instagram and to get a blue tick. So these days you can buy blue ticks. They verify your account. They add added protection to your account. It means that if somebody was to like spam you, you've got the added protection. You have support from Instagram. Growing to the size that I am now has taken me 4 years, and the verified badge protects all of that. So I made myself a little goal that I want to like hit 50,000 followers, and when I get 50,000 followers I will buy a blue tick. So I ended the year on 47.8 thousand followers, so I'm not far off 50,000, and I'm now currently on 48.1, I think, so 48,100. And so I am getting there, and I know at the end of this first quarter I will have gained 50,000 followers. So I feel like I have achieved that goal because I have gone from 16,000 followers up to 48,000. I have done a huge chunk of work to gain that sort of following within the year. And so I am very proud of myself. I forgot that I had actually put 50,000 followers as a benchmark on my Instagram. I knew what I'd put on my TikTok, but I forgot that it was a benchmark on my Instagram. And I don't know whether I've ever told you that I have goals that are like yearly goals, and then my vision board is just like a vision board that will just continue going through my life. Like I have like the dog that I want to eventually buy on there, the house that I eventually kind of want to live in. I've got like an engagement ring on there, a wedding dress that I like, and just like, you know, the like private jets, you know, the usual sort of like vision board stuff. But I have certain things on that board that I will be able to take off this year. And for me, that's wild because, like I said, that's for like my lifelong like vision board. These are my like yearly goals. I don't know whether I picked this up at the start. I'm pointing to the journal that has seen me through my entire breakup. This is like where I came and journaled certain things, all my original affirmations. Like if I read you the first page of this book, it stems back to 2021 when I was in a relationship. And I think you can see that there. Yeah, 2021 when I was in a relationship. And so yeah, my goals have changed a lot throughout this journal, as you can imagine. So I still got clear pages at the end, so it's going to see me through a couple more years. So I like to keep that journal for my goals because I can just really easily flick back through the years, and I make a little plan about how I'm going to achieve those goals and stuff. So yeah, so my Instagram goal was pretty much done, I think, in my eyes. It's just the figures. And like I said, at the end of this quarter, in April, I know that I will have had 50,000 followers, which when I actually digest that is wild to me and is going to open up so many opportunities, and I'm excited. And I had the same sort of thing for TikTok, which I didn't think I was going to do. So my TikTok numbers were 200,000 and I'm on 228,000. And the figure that is on my vision board for the foreseeable future is 250,000, which is 250,000. When you say it like that, it's kind of crazy. I'm not far off that. And so at the end of this quarter, in April, I think I will be taking that down. I will just show you what I have on my vision board. So this is how I basically vision things. This is obviously my TikTok. This is how many followers I started last year with. So 129,000 I started last year with. I've put 250k, like crossed it out and put 250k there because that's what I vision myself having and gaining. And then I have it on my board up here so I can see it clearly every day. every day I see that because I sit here and it's the board against my cupboard and I can see it. And yeah, that would be crazy if I take that down in April and put up a new one, maybe 500,000, and just see how I get on with that. So yeah, TikTok wise, I was right on the money with that. So 200 followers has actually, I've gained 100,000 followers because I'm on 228,000. So I've gained 100,000 followers in a year, which is mental. And is something that I'm going to start exploring, because everybody I have spoken to that has asked me how I've done that has got some interest in becoming a content creator online, and I fully encourage it because it's going to change my life. So I don't understand why people gatekeep it. My processes and my systems that I put in place to grow on TikTok are so easy to follow. Anyone can do it. Literally anyone. I started my TikTok 2 years ago and I've got 200,000 followers. So Instagram, quite difficult, but can be done. And I have a system again and a process in place that I am following. It's going to be tweaked this year. But I do think I am going to eventually sit as well in the field of how to grow on social media, how to start your own podcast, because everybody that is listening to this, and if you haven't listened from day dot, but everybody I think has pretty much started from the beginning, knows that I did this in the midst of a huge breakup where I recorded a lot of these episodes in my old house. I cried a lot on the first couple of episodes. I was going through a hell of a lot personally, and now we're here and I've seemed to have grown this community online in quite a short space of time for a creator. Like, I've only been in the podcasting space for 2.5 years and I've got over 5,000 subscribers. The one thing that I'm going to do this year is grow my YouTube. So more to come on that. I'm not going to dwell on that, but that is having a huge revamp. And talking about revamps, so has my podcast. So I'm in the middle of designing a studio. I say studio, it's just my spare room, but I'm in the middle of designing it. So looks like a studio. We're going to come out of my office space into my spare room. I'm having a whole Coming Up for Air logo being done, and it's just going to be a little bit different. It's going to look a little bit more slick, a little bit less just me sitting on my office chair, which has obviously done me well for this long. But I'm also going to be putting a lot of more of my content on YouTube. So it's going to be short 20-minute burst videos of how I am going to manifest the best year of my life, and less about my breakup, more about that. So my podcast is primarily going to be a space where people can come that are going through a breakup. My YouTube is going to be somewhere where people can go if they're not going through a breakup but just need that boost in life. Because when I was in my relationship, I still found like self-help YouTubes, self-help books really, really useful. So I'm going to be doing all of that, and I'm going to try and kind of split it down. I'm going to split it down. It will become really easy to follow. I'm going to put it all over my social media. There's going to be so much more on my social media this year. That is one of my biggest goals of 2026. So just going back to my 2025 goals. So there was 2 figures on there. There was also one of my goals of 2025 was, I've listed them all down. What page was that on? This one. So clear all my credit cards. So when I lost my job, I relied heavily on my credit cards, which to zero fault of my own, I obviously had a lot of bills to pay. I had a lot of living to be doing, and selling my house just was not an option for me. And had I sold my house, I wouldn't have needed the credit cards. I have being quite open on my Patreon about my financial situation of when I came out of my breakup up until now. When I lost my job, I was very fortunate that I had credit cards with such huge limits on, because I know that people talk to me and they're like, well, I can only get £1,000. I'm like, what? Well, my credit cards has got 17.5 grand on it, like a limit. I trusted my gut and I knew that it was short term, but I relied on my credit cards, and I knew at the start of the year that I would probably rely heavily on them throughout the year, which I did. And I also had money coming in through my socials. So it wasn't like heavily, but like I relied heavily on them. And I made a goal that if I did that throughout the year, by the end of the year, I would be in some position to start paying them off, to have cleared some of them. And that happened. So I am going into the new year with, I think I want to say about £2,000 on a credit card, which for me, totally doable, fine. The monthly payments are fine. But I did have a lot of stuff going onto a credit card to be able to survive that year. Obviously, losing your job is just mental. And I spoke to a financial advisor and he was like there's everybody goes through these times and everybody has credit cards. And as long as you're sensible with them, I'm obviously not here to give out financial advice. I don't advise taking out a credit card if you can't meet the monthly payments. But if you can meet the monthly payments, I think they're just an amazing buffer to be able to rely on if you need the additional support to pay your bills, which is basically paying my council tax, which is extortionately high, paying my gas and electricity bill. Like when you haven't got an income, it is quite difficult. So that was one of my big goals of 2025, which I think is also going to carry into 2026. And my last goal of 2025 was to be able to reduce the amount of hours that I'm in therapy and to be able to see a clear change in how I was handling situations. And I think I've fully done that. I'm in therapy less and less these days. My therapist is retired, so she's very glad about that. So I don't come knocking on her door every 8 weeks. Like, hello, me again. We have reduced the hours down, and I am actively seeing a complete change in how I handle situations, how I think about things, how I speak about myself, how I speak about my trauma, how I respond to people's like negative opinions about what I do. I've just seen a huge change in myself this year. And I think that's a goal that you can't really prove. You kind of have to like say, you know what, I've done really well this year. Like I've really worked hard on myself and I feel like I have really come on leaps and bounds with myself personally, and being able to say that to yourself is amazing. I think my goals of 2025, there was things in there like other figures and other things that I'm going to take over this year. I'm just going to work on more. And like I've got to get a sub 5 hour marathon, which was a shame because I couldn't obviously achieve that because I didn't end up running the London Marathon because of my shin splints. So things like that, they're going to have to, go into another year when I'm running a marathon, but obviously not this year because I'm not running a marathon. But my main goal of 2026, my main goal that is split down into quarters of the year, which I will go through. Like if anybody wants me to go through, I'll probably sit on my Patreon and maybe go through how I've split down the year. Or if you want me to do an episode on that, then just let me know and I can devise an episode on that. But my main goal for 2026 is to become a full-time content creator in a way that I'm not having to rely on any other forms of income in my life. And like I said, I've been working for a different company just to make sure that my bank account's topped up. It compromises a little bit more of my time, which is fine because I've got bills to pay. You have to be realistic with these types of things, especially when you have a whole house to pay for by yourself, including running a car and living. So I want to be able to sit here in January 2027 and be like, this is how I got here. And I will probably be fully transparent with, how much of that comes from different social media platforms. I am capable of being a full-time content creator. And the reason why I'm saying it like that is so you guys know what you should be saying when you have set your goals. I am fully capable of being a content creator. I'm fully capable of being a full-time content creator. And I have the capabilities of being able to have a steady financial income, which will support my house, my bills, and everything else whilst I'm doing everything that I love. When you talk like that about your goals, you put out to the universe that you believe in yourself, but you also actually tell yourself that you believe yourself. I am going to achieve that. And people think like, oh, that's a bit big-headed. No, it's not. If you're like, I want to, it gives you and your brain the space to not believe it. I am. There's no room for that. There's no room for doubt in I am. It's I am. I am going to do that. So that is one of my biggest goals of 2026. My other goal of 2026, I don't know why I'm smiling when I say this. I don't know why I feel weird about saying it. But I do want to open my heart up to somebody new this year. Not in the first 4 months of the year. The first 4 months of the year are for getting into the flow of my new content, getting into the flow of doing new things, getting into the flow of like, I want to get on TikTok Shop and just things like that. That is what the first quarter of this year is. I'm not closing my heart off to it, but you will not find me doing my sort of manifesting rituals in these first 4 months of the year. That's not a thing. But come April, I am going to get really serious about manifesting love, manifesting what I want in a man, making space for him in my house because my cupboards are literally overflowing. There is probably an exercise in that for me actually to go through my wardrobe, but make a little space for somebody, have a little space for a toothbrush in my house maybe. All of those really nice things that come with manifesting a new love interest into my life. What I'm not doing is getting on a dating app. You will have none of that from me in 2026. If you want me to talk about my success rate on a dating app, you are in the wrong place because that is not a thing. I am going to organically manifest a man into my life. And so next New Year's Eve, I won't be sat here saying, I think I'm going to spend New Year's Eve on my own this year. I'm going to be saying, this year is going to be a little bit different for me because I have a boyfriend or I have met somebody and we're doing X, Y, and Z. It still stands with me and it still feels right for me to not go into masses of detail. If I do meet somebody, you will know about it. Who, what, when, where will probably not appear on my social media because over the Christmas break, I have realised that there are still people that still don't want me to do well and still people who will try and find things out. Christmas brings out everybody in the pubs and I just heard a few things that I'm just like, what? Still? God's sake, let me live. So I've done some things this year already that have made me feel like I've got a little bit more control over my private life. I've shut down my personal Instagram page. I've taken off anybody who I don't know on my Instagram. I've taken them off. So if you have followed me in the past on my personal Instagram page and now you are being greeted with follow and me having a private account, I do apologize. It's just a way of me keeping my private life private. And I think, as a content creator, I do not want to be sharing my entire life online. It's not fair on my family. They didn't choose this life. It's not fair on the person that I bring into my life. They probably haven't chosen that life as well. I have to protect that hemisphere somehow. And I think I do it quite well now. You will see that, I don't post a lot of what I'm doing on my running account day to day anymore. I used to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing today. I don't do that now just because I've found that people use it against me and it's not very nice. So, I still have to protect myself in doing a job like this. Yes, I chose to put my life on social media, but that's where people get confused. Yes, I chose to put my breakup online. I didn't choose to put my life online. So you will be kept updated with the success of my manifesting. However, you probably will not see what they look like. So yes, I'm going to get particular with height and what they look like, but I just think for the first couple of years, maybe I won't share them just because I want it to be private. But recently, like the last few months, found myself really stepping into like my soft girl era. I just wanted to finish this episode by telling you what I have done this year to aid my thought process on how I am going to see this year. And that is by listening to the Mel Robbins book, Let Them. And I have used this book to guide me through some of the hardest situations. And I would say that you will listen to it once and you will probably find that you're a bit like, oh, that was a bit like, don't really understand that. I fully recommend having it on audio and having it as a physical book as well. I love a physical book. You might not like a physical book, but I do love a physical book and I do like taking notes in the book. That's just me. And I think people think that self-help books, you're going to listen to them or read them once and it's going to like revolutionize your life and you're going to come away and you're going to think, oh my God, that is amazing. You will take little bits from it, things that resonate with you, of course, but I think for it to actually go in and for actually you to start practicing the things that they are talking about in the book, you have to listen to them or read them again. And I like to start the year off by listening to the audiobook, to have her in my ears when I'm out on my walk. I go out for an hour and a half a day, and so I think I have about 3 hours of the book left. And it is one of those books that I think, oh my God, why don't I listen to this more? Every single time I start it, I'm like, oh my God, why don't I not listen to this book more? And it's all about the let them theory. And it's so useful during a breakup. It's the let them and then turning it back onto yourself. So it's like, let them and let me. However, I've taken different things from it each time I've listened to it. Every single year I listen to it and I take away different learnings every single year. My biggest learning from it is the fact that it is okay to go back into being a soft girl. Now, this is something that I'm going to expand on throughout the year, but I think there is a worry definitely with me that me going back into being a softer version of myself, the version that I was when I was in a relationship, the version of the person that I am when I am in love, I think there is a worry that if I go back into that, I am going to allow somebody to hurt me again. I'm going to be vulnerable again. I'm going to be naive again. And that just isn't the case. And I think that's the biggest teaching that I've taken so far from the book, that it is okay to go into being a soft version of yourself, because I've never had the experience and the thoughts and the feelings, the events happened to me and then gone into being a softer version of myself. I've never done that. And so I've got to allow myself to be that softer version of myself, because I know at that point I am at my best. I know that side of myself I haven't seen for a long time. I haven't seen her for 4 years nearly. I don't remember the last time that I felt like a lover girl, and I am feeling into that more and more as has gone on. And like I said, there was like that glitch that I had of like, going onto dating websites and going on a few dates. Like it just felt so wrong, and it was just like a panic. And oh my God, it's going to be the winter and I'm going to be by myself. 2-week panic. I shouldn't have done that personally for me. And what I immediately told myself is that, like, oh, I've failed, like I've messed up here, I shouldn't have done that. When now listening to that book, I'm like, what are the lessons that I can draw down on from that? One, I don't like dating apps. That's it. That's the biggest lesson. I am not a dating app girl. I'm not going to meet somebody online. It's not a thing. It's not how I want to meet somebody. I don't feel secure in those environments. They make me feel pretty worthless. I just don't like it. So that is not going to be me. I'm not going to be on a dating app. And I've allowed myself to draw the lesson. I've not just automatically gone, oh, that was a bit of a mistake, I shouldn't have done that. I've gone, like, what have I learned from it? And this book teaches you how to process other people's behavior towards you. The let them, it's in the title, allow somebody to act like that. But then she teaches you how to process it, how to apply it to your job, how to apply it to relationships, how to apply it to past trauma and things like that. It's one of those books that you will listen to and go, I do that, so maybe I could try it this way. And like I said, I've listened to it, and while I'm listening to it, I've nearly finished it. And then I'm going to go back and reread it and reread the teachings and make notes. And remember, these books are self-help books. You're not just going to digest them. Just because you've listened to them doesn't mean that your life's going to magically change overnight. And I think that that's what I did, to be fair. When I first read one of my first self-help books, I was like, okay. I was a bit of a damp squib, like I was expecting fireworks at the end of it. When I actually listened or took notes or actually listened with, like, intent, I realized that in situations I would refer back to the book, and the let them theory is going to do that for you in these situations. It was a book that carried me through my breakup on the nights where I thought, how, why, what are they doing? Like, why are they acting like that? It's not a case of let them, bye, let them act like that, see you later, just forget it. That's not what the theory is about. It's let them and then let me process it. How am I going to process without allowing them to drastically change the way that you have responded to a situation in the past? I've changed the way I've responded to situations recently since listening to this book. Like, there's been a couple of scenarios that have come up literally in the past first 9 days of this year where I've just been like, no, Mel Robbins, let them. And then processed it in my own way, following the steps of this book behind closed doors. And it's made me feel more calm, and it's made me feel more zen, and it's made me feel a bit more in control of my emotions and how I feel and respond, and how I'm allowing myself to feel a little bit softer. I've allowed myself since my breakup to be a changed version of myself. And now this year I'm looking at going back to a version of myself that I once was, but I'm not. I'm completely changed just because I'm going, just because I'm saying that I want to meet somebody this year, and that I am going to meet somebody this year, and this year I want to spend, Christmas and New Year with somebody new. That is scary for somebody that has been through a hard breakup, but it shouldn't be, because I know that, yes, I am a changed person. I also can exist as that changed person and as a girlfriend. It doesn't mean that I'm just going to revert into old patterns, old ways and things like that. So it is scary. I don't know what I'm going to be like, and it's exciting. And I just wanted to do this overall episode and catch-up episode so you are starting the year on the right foot. I don't want to tell you how to set your goals. You have listened to my goals, seen how, I've only got 2 major goals for this year. I'm going to have split that down into smaller goals throughout the year. How am I going to achieve those things? But I'm not overwhelming myself this year. I haven't got loads of goals, and I have set you off on the right foot, giving you the advice of listening to the correct book to set you on a good footing, to enable you to feel refreshed and confident, and going into this year armed with new techniques on how to step into maybe another chapter in your life. Going into 2024 was a crazy time for me. Mentally, I was healing, but I was still working for my ex, but I was in a new house and I had all these plans, and like, you do step into new chapters of yourself all the time. And so I'm hoping that this book is going to help you do that. I'm hoping that you have listened to my goals and you're like, I don't need to set a million what and one goals. People go, where are your fitness goals? I don't need fitness goals. I don't need fitness goals. I'm consistent, I'm healthy, and I know I can do it. I'm not setting fitness goals. There doesn't need to be any fitness goals in there, but you might think, I actually want to run a 5K by the end of this year. That's totally okay. So I'm going to put together a worksheet of how to set goals. I'm going to do that within the next couple of weeks. So you aren't overwhelmed. It's not something that you think, oh my God, by January I need to have set goals. You don't need to do that. Like I've explained, some of the goals are gonna, from my last year's goals, are gonna go into this year's goals. So I'm going to put together a worksheet. I'm going to talk more on goals next week as well. And I'm going to talk more on my Patreon about goal setting and being kind to yourself and just how to start the year off in your soft girl era phase. So if that is something that you are interested in, please go and sign up to my Patreon. It's £5 a month. The link is in my bios of every form of social media that I have. You just follow the platform on my Stan store. It will say sign up for my Patreon and you can sign up there. If you're starting the new year off in no contact, I have a no contact guide that is also available in my Stan store. If not, guys, I'm wishing you the happiest of New Year's. I'm so excited for this year. I'm so excited to be doing this year with you guys again, another year. I am excited for you to see what is in the pipeline of my content. I'm very excited to get going. It's just, there is a lot of stuff happening in the background, obviously creating a new studio, making sure I've got the sound right, making sure I've got the video recording right, everything like that. It all takes time, but with my new habit that I am building with my 2-drink maximum, I am going to be super productive this year. And I'm very, 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 very excited to take you on this journey with me. Look after yourself, guys. Thank you for listening, and I will speak to you guys next week. Bye.